and welcome back to My Practically Imperfect Life. Like many homeschooling families, we are using the month of December to try and incorporate as many Christmas and holiday traditions into each part of our homeschool day as we can. Both of my high schoolers are taking German as their foreign language, and additionally, we have kind of a family background of immigrating from Germany and Austria and Poland. And so we have really enjoyed this month, kind of going beyond just learning the foreign language itself, but also looking more at the culture and specifically how these countries are celebrating Christmas. This week, we thought it would be a lot of fun to try a traditional German recipe for a Christmas bread. So today I wanted to share with you what we did to make German Stollen bread. Now, this is kind of like a fruit cake in some ways in terms of some of the ingredients that you'll see, but it has been around for hundreds of years, and it is one of those breads that you can make and store and kind of let just kind of soak up flavors for some additional time. So we thought we would experiment a little bit and make two loaves, one we would eat right away and one that we would see how it tasted different in a week or two from now. Now, we had to really learn a lot of new culinary techniques to make this bread, from candying our own lemon and orange peels to making homemade marzipan to just how the bread is all put together. So we thought it would be fun to kind of take you along for the ride and show you all of the steps we followed and the finished product. So I will go ahead and I will link the recipe that we followed down below for you, which also gives you the instructions on how to make your own marzipan and your own candied citrus peels, which are ingredients that you need for this bread. Now, of course, you can purchase those things pre-made, but we just had so much fun, trying our hand at these different things. And we definitely felt like it was just improving the taste by making things ourselves. So anyways, let's go ahead and take you through the process, and then we'll show you the final product that we ended up with. So the first thing we needed to make was some candied orange and candied lemon peels. So I had 4 lemons and 3 oranges, and what I did is I just cut off the ends of each of them and then did a couple of slices along the side of the rind. So not cutting all the way through the fruit, but just into the rind so I could peel it off in segments. Then once I had those segments detached, I sliced those into thin slices, probably about 1/4 of an inch wide to 1/2 an inch wide. And I placed all of these into a pot of boiling water. So the reason we are boiling these is to soften up these rinds, and also it will reduce the bitterness that comes from this white pith that's left on the inside of the rinds. So we're going to boil these for 15 minutes, drain, rinse, and then repeat that process 2 more times for 3 rounds of boiling. Now add a cup of fresh water and 2 cups of sugar to the pot and bring that to a boil. You're going to boil for a couple of minutes till the sugar is all the way dissolved, and then add in all of your citrus peels. Reduce the heat down to low and then keep it at a simmer for about 45 to 60 minutes, stirring it every once in a while. The peels are going to become kind of translucent, and then the sugar water mixture will become kind of a syrupy texture. For the next step, you're going to get a wire rack and a bowl of just regular sugar. Scoop out a couple of these peels at a time, put them into the sugar, coat them all the way, and then lay them in a single layer on the drying rack. Now you can leave them drying for a day or 2 and they will harden up, but don't worry, they do soften when you're baking. Now if you want to store these, they'll store for about a month at room temperature if you put them in like a cool, dry place, or you can freeze them for several months. So if you would like them to be even softer in your baked goods, you can shorten this drying time. We actually only let ours dry for about a day before we used them, and they were perfect in our final product. Now to make our homemade marzipan, we used 1.5 cups of very finely ground blanched almond flour, and we just used this brand we found at the store. To this we added 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, followed by 2 teaspoons of pure almond extract, and then a teaspoon of food-grade rose water. I found ours at our local home goods store. Last thing I added was just 1 egg white, and then I let it all mix together till it came together to form a thick dough. Turn the dough out onto a piece of parchment here, and then I put a little extra almond flour on my hands just to keep it from sticking, and kneaded it into a smooth ball. Then I took that ball and rolled it into kind of a log shape, which is the shape that we'll need for the bread, covered the whole thing in plastic, and then I stored it in the refrigerator until it was time to use it. Now you do want to bring it out a little bit before you start forming your bread because you want it at room temperature before it goes into the oven. For the bread itself, we need whole milk and some active dry yeast, about half a cup of sugar and 4 cups flour, a stick and a half of unsalted butter, 3 eggs, but we're going to use 1 whole egg and 2 egg yolks, vanilla extract, and then you're also going to need to get a couple of different spices out. So we use salt, nutmeg, and cinnamon. Now it does call for cardamom, but that's a pretty expensive spice, so we did skip that one. And honestly, I don't think it detracted from the taste not using the cardamom. So it also calls for 9 ounces of raisins, so we just got boxed raisins to use. And then you also need to have some blanched, slivered, or sliced almonds. So we just picked up a bag here of ones that were already pre-sliced and used those. You also are going to need some quality dark rum. Now we're not rum drinkers in our house, so we just picked one that looked pretty good. So into a bowl we put the raisins, we put 3 ounces of the candied lemon peel and 3 ounces of the candied orange peel that we had diced up, and then we diced up 3 ounces of the almonds. I just used a kitchen food scale to figure that all out. To this I added 1/3 cup of the quality dark rum and then mixed it all up, and we just let it sit until we were ready to add it to our bread later so it could soak up all those flavors. Now we took a cup of the whole milk and heated it up till it was lukewarm temperature, and to this we added 3 teaspoons of the active dry yeast along with 2 tablespoons of sugar, and we just mixed this all up and we let it sit to the side for about 10 minutes till it got foamy. Now get out your stand mixer and put on a dough hook attachment, and in here you're going to mix together the flour, remaining sugar, egg yolks, butter, vanilla extract, salt, nutmeg, cinnamon, and the cardamom if you decide to. Go ahead and get that started mixing together, and then you'll add that yeast milk mixture that you prepared earlier. Just keep going, stir it together a little bit, and then use the dough hook to kind of knead it together for about 7 to 8 minutes until it comes together and pulls away from the side of the bowl. Now that it's done kneading, I took another big glass bowl and I'm going to spray it with some cooking spray just so nothing sticks to it. You could also use oil. Pour the dough into there and lightly cover it with some plastic wrap, and then place it in a kind of warm place so you can put it on top of a stove, under a light, in a just barely warm oven. And we're going to let this rise for anywhere from 1 to 2 hours until it's roughly doubled in size. It did take ours about 2 hours to rise that much. So after the 2 hours was done, we went ahead and punched down our dough, and we were going to add in our fruit and nut mixture. So most of the rum mixture should have been absorbed by the fruit, but you may want to just check and see if you need to drain it at all or use a slotted spoon so you're not adding any of the liquid into the bread dough, you're just adding the fruit and nut mixture. I did have to add some extra flour into this mixture as I was kneading it, just to keep it from getting overly sticky and to make sure it stayed together. So here you'll see I'm just adding this in, and I chose to knead it in by hand. You could put it back into your stand mixer with the dough hook and let that do the mixing for you, but this was just kind of a fun part of the process. And then once we had it all kneaded together, we put it out onto a floured work surface and worked the dough a little bit, split it into 2 equal halves, and then rolled out each of those halves into an oval that was about 1 inch thick. Once our oval was ready, I took about 4 ounces or so of the marzipan and rolled that out into a log that was just slightly shorter than the length of my oval, and I placed that in the middle. Then you're going to fold the left side of your dough up and over the marzipan, just barely over the marzipan. Take the opposite side and fold that over so it's just barely overlapping the left. So you don't want to fold it over all the way, just a slight overlap there. Then I pinched and tucked the ends of the dough so that way it was completely enclosing the marzipan. And then you'll see here I'm taking my hand and I'm creating an indent down the center of this bread dough. This creates like a characteristic hump that Stollen is known for. Now it's optional, but if you want it to be as authentic as possible, I'd recommend adding this step in. We let our 2 loaves rise again for another hour, then baked them at 350 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes or until golden brown or an internal temp of 190. When the bread came out of the oven, I just took a toothpick and poked holes all over it, and then I just poured some melted butter over it, about half a stick to 1 stick, and let that just soak into the bread. Then we covered the entire loaf with powdered sugar. So we put quite a bit of powdered sugar on. We weren't sure how much to use really, and just kind of patted it all over the surface of the bread. So then we let it cool, and we did another powdering of powdered sugar once it was all cooled off. So you can eat the Stollen fresh now, or if you choose, you can wrap it in plastic wrap and then foil and then leave it to ripen for a week or two. So we experimented. We're going to eat one right away, and then we are going to go ahead and store the second loaf. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed coming along with us as we tried our hand at German Stollen bread. We look forward to trying a lot of different traditions that come from Germany and Austria and Switzerland over the next couple of days as we finish up our Christmas studies in our homeschool. We hope you are all having a wonderful December, and Merry Christmas, everybody.